everyone, it's Heather Nichols. Today we're going to do a little blending with pastel color tones using the new Pastel Blender Brushes and stencils available at Tailored Expressions. This card starts off with the stencils. I'll be doing the mini slim size, and so I'll be using the mini slim masking rectangle stencil along with the mini slim floral lattice stencil. I'll be holding those stencils in place on my project using pixie spray. To apply the pastel ink color through my stencil, I'll be using my new Pastel Blender Brushes. I have them here in my tool tray. For stamps, I'm using the Bouquet Whimsy clear set along with coordinating dies. For inks, I'll be using lavender glaze, avocado, guava, blue raspberry, and jelly donut. For the sentiment on my card, I'm going to my Simple Strips storage system, and I'm using the Simple Strips friendship set, and I'll pick a sentiment out of there. For liquid adhesive, I'm using the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue, and I'll be applying clear drip drops. I have my Crystal Katana tool as well. And finally, I'll be using some foam squares to pop flowers up on my project. Let's get started by doing the background stenciling on a piece of sugar cube cardstock. This is cut to 3.5 by 6 inches, which is the mini slim size. All of my stencils are held in place with pixie spray. I'm using the guides that are etched into the masking stencil, but I've lined up the edge of my cardstock with the outer etched guides on the stencil. I'll use my lavender blender brush from the new Pastel Blender Brushes set, and I'm going to use lavender glaze ink and fill in this area with the lavender glaze color. I'm using a circular motion with my blender brush, and I tend to have a heavy hand, and so that's one thing I really like about having a pastel blender brush option is now I have something to dedicate to these lighter colors instead of trying to clean the darker ink colors out of my other brushes and try to get a light tone with those. One thing to also note when you're using blender brushes and adding color to cardstock, at first the ink seems to be a little bit blotchy and not smooth and even. Just give it a little bit of time. As the ink soaks into the paper, the blend will smooth out and look beautiful. Once I'm happy with the inside blending of the lavender glaze ink in the opening of that rectangle stencil, I'm adding the insert piece into the middle to mask this area off. Once it's in place, I'll peel off that outer part of the rectangle stencil. I'll layer the mini slim floral lattice stencil over the top, and we'll add the pattern to the outside edge using my lavender glaze ink again with the lavender blender brush. Once all my stenciling is complete, I'll peel off the lattice stencil as well as that middle insert to reveal the background for our project. Once my background was complete, I stamped the other elements for the flower bouquet that's on the front of my card. I'm using the Bouquet Whimsy set, and I'm setting this up in my MISTI. I do have the foam insert in my MISTI to raise it up for the clear stamps. For this largest flower, I'm stamping that in Jelly Donut, and I'll stamp 2 of those. The pointed daisy style flower I'll stamp with guava ink. I'm stamping the stems with avocado ink. I'm stamping this smaller flower with blue raspberry ink. The centers of the purple flowers are blue raspberry ink, and the single stamped leaves are avocado ink. I'm using a pair of scissors to cut apart the elements on my piece of cardstock so that I can send them through my Sidekick machine. I'll arrange the dies right over the top of the stamped image and use a little removable tape to hold it in place, and then I'll send it right through my Sidekick machine to cut it out. I'll repeat these steps to cut out all of the pieces for my bouquet. Alright, we're ready to put this card together. I'm adhering the stems directly to the background with my tape runner, and then I'll start adding the flowers. I like to start adding the largest sizes and move down from there. Some of the flowers I'm popping up with foam squares, and some of them I'm adhering right directly to the background. Varying the height of your flowers is going to add really pretty dimension and texture to your bouquet. My final touch to the bouquet is tucking in the leaves here and there throughout the flowers. I'm adding this to a toffee card base. This is cut in the mini slim size, so the finished size is 3.5 by 6 inches. I'm attaching it so it is even with the top, and I did trim that sugar cube cardstock just a little bit so that there is a peak of toffee cardstock at the bottom of the card front. I had previously stamped the Simple Strips Friendship set onto toffee cardstock with sugar cube ink, and I have that stored in my Simple Storage for Simple Strips box. And so I'm selecting the You Are My Sunshine sentiment to use on my card. It's really nice to have all these sentiments ready to go. I'm trimming some of the foam squares in half to add to the back of the sentiment strip, and then I'll add that to the front of my card. My final finishing touch on my card is a few of the clear drip drops. I took 3 of the drip drops of different sizes and scattered them throughout my card design. I'm adhering those to my card with the Barely Art liquid glue and using the Crystal Katana tool to help me place the gems. That completes my card. I really like how this turned out and the look of the pastel tones for the background. All of the supplies that I used to create this card, including the Pastel Blender Brushes, are available at the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.